Deconverted Man here. So I posted a thing on Facebook, and now everyone hates me, or a lot of people do, I guess. Oops. So here's the story so far. I was, scrolling through Facebook, and I saw part of a video, and I didn't watch the whole of the video, and I made an off the cuff remark about the video, and this was then taken and run with. I wasn't asked to clarify what I was saying or whatever. It was just, look what happened here, and I've been insulted and all this. Um, so Anti-Ordinary had, posted a screenshot of what I said on Facebook, which was basically like off the cuff remark about this video I'd seen on Facebook. I was like, if you have a penis, you're a man. If you have a woman, you have a vagina, you're a woman. If you have the brain of the other thing, then you could prove that. And, that's a whole different story. And basically then I followed that up since they posted it on Twitter, and didn't like just ask me, what do you mean by that? But whatever, you have to, has to be broadcast, I followed up in text, look, this is what I'm trying to get at. I didn't watch the whole video. Looking at the whole video, I'm not even sure I completely get the message of the video, but basically, I guess they were saying that at first I thought that the person in the video was talking about they don't want to be called trans, and that's not what they were talking about in the video. And my point was, like, I thought that was the whole fight of the trans community, was that they want to be, there's certain labels, like you're a guy, then you're trans, then you're a girl, or you're a girl, then you're trans, then you're a guy. Like, you're not that thing until you're done transitioning, right? Or like, or you're a trans woman or a trans man, I can understand that, but to fully call you what you're not yet, like call you a woman even though you still have the biology of a guy, like, that's odd, I suppose. But if that's what they're asking for, or saying that's what we want you to do, then okay, I can understand that. But like, I didn't think that that's what they were asking for. And then I also said, the brain thing, like, I know of a study, or I read about the study that had shown there's people, they've examined the brains of people, post death or whatever, and they showed that, they had the brain of the other of a male or a female. And I'm like, well, we could do a brain scan and do that obviously before they die, and that would be proof, and that would be good to have, because we would have an actual solid evidence-based argument, rather than just have arguments based on feelings, which is what I see constantly in regards to this particular phenomenon. I see lots of, I feel this, I believe this is who I am, and it's all emotional. And there might be some evidence about, chromosomes and things of this, and DNA and things of this nature, and whether you have, double X or double Y or some combination thereof or whatever. And the more evidence we can pile onto it, the better that argument would be. But if people are just saying, look, we want you to accept this based on our word, then that could be that's a problem for me. And I think it's a problem for other people as well, because that's not how I accept anything else. I don't accept things just because somebody told me. I accept things based on evidence. So that really upset Anti-Ordinary, because they felt like I was calling them a guy. I'm like, well, biologically speaking, I would think that that's what you are, unless you have biology that I'm unaware of, that even though you have certain body parts of a guy, maybe the hormones or whatever, the genetics of you is in fact not that. So the physical appearance is not what we should base things on, you know. So maybe we have to reevaluate what we do when somebody's born, like take their blood and you know, figure out what they really are, like, you know, as far as like maybe they have a lot of estrogen in them or a lot of testosterone in them, then they're whatever that, you know, their brain is basically, or their body is basically producing that. Or, you know, scan their brain and see if they're a guy or a girl, you know, and get it out of the way early, maybe, you know. But it seems like something we could figure out with science. But, you know, it's become a whole thing on Twitter where people are, you know, calling me an idiot. Somebody's like, they took down a video that I was in because they don't want to promote me or whatever. And I'm like, really? Come on, just whatever. You know, I'm just rolling my eyes. I'm like, look, if I'm wrong about something, fine. Am I not allowed to be wrong about something? Like, you know, well, you're an idiot. Like, well, yeah, I might be an idiot about this. I was just posting something off the cuff, you know. But is that how are we going to treat people that don't know everything that there is to know about any given topic? It's just, well, you said the thing that I don't like, so, you know, I'm writing you off, I'm calling you idiot, and I'm unfriending you, and I'm unlisting your videos, and I'm unsubscribing, I'm downvoting everything you do. I just hate you forever and all time. Or are we going to say, look, obviously you're not informed. Obviously you're mistaken, you know? How are we going to handle that? And it's a matter of natural language is involved in that. There's some feelings involved in it, you know, and there's some logic and some, you know, burden of proof issues and things of this nature. And so all of those things are things I talk about. Godless Cranium's like, hey, do you want to talk about this? I'm like, I guess. I mean, you know, if you really think it needs to be talked about, and, you know, do you want to have, I'll host a thing between you and Anti-Ordinary? I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, if you know, if that has to happen or needs to happen, I don't know. I mean, obviously to upset them, I didn't, you know, I just posted a thing, you know, off the cuff. Wasn't even like anything, you know, from my side. I wasn't, you know, even thinking about what I was, you know, I hadn't even watched the entire video. So my post was completely incorrect on that level, you know, because I can say that much. Like, I directed my ire at what I assumed the video was, not what the video actually was. So that was a problem. But it's interesting to see how people react to somebody when they make, you know, an error or whatever you want to call it, and, you know, respond with emotion rather than logic. But, you know, oh well, you know, that happens. So let's see if the chat has anything horrible to say at me, and insults and whatnot. I have been ignoring that. Let's see. What have I done? It's a weird time when you get shamed for saying that men have a penis and women have a vagina, God Barrett says. Try to be tolerant as possible, but when they start telling me I have to say or can't say, that's when I exercise my right to speak my mind. They actually hurt their cause by trying to force people. So that's God Barrett in the chat. So, well, you know, there's the social contract. And so I say my name is, you know, Dan Green is my pretend name on Facebook and Twitter. And so you call me Dan Green because, you know, maybe I'm lying. Maybe that's not really my name. Maybe I'm going to change my name to that. Maybe any number of things. But it's not that extraordinary of a claim. And if I'm lying, who cares? You know, whatever. It's not going to kill you to call me Dan Green. And if I say, well, I'm a robot, beep, beep, burp, burp, you might look at me kind of strange. And maybe you'll call me a robot. Or maybe you'll just be like, yeah, that's nice, and you'll walk away. You know, it's kind of a weird claim to make. But if I believe I'm a robot and, you know, I sincerely want you to call me a robot, I guess you might call me a robot or you might not. That's up to you. And that's sort of the social contract. Like, look, you're not going to call me this thing, so I'm not going to associate with you. Fair enough. You know, nobody Nobody is forcing you to associate with somebody that you don't want to associate with, and maybe they're a jerk, okay, fine. So we need to, try to help people not to be a jerk. Understandable. Hey, Nate Broadley D. Yeah. So biologically speaking, if you have XX or XY or whatever the bleep this shows you how much I know about this topic, right? It's like, okay, well then you are that gender, like biologically speaking. Your body came out as a male. So we assume you're a guy. And maybe we shouldn't do that. Like there's, if there's at the chromosomal level, at the, level of your brain, or, if you're producing a lot of estrogen or testosterone, that could, those things should be looked at. And that's provable, testable things that could be shown to be the case. And then it's like, well, just because your body came out a certain way doesn't mean necessarily that your brain aligns with that. And since we found that to be true in a few people's case, it might be true for a lot of people. Electronics says male and female plugs, right, Rand? Yeah. So I don't know if this, the situation I've found myself in is, kind of a natural language issue, or because I upset somebody with what I said, like, from Anti-Ordinary's point of view, I called them a male. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say, hey, you're a guy. In fact, I've always referred to her as her and she, and she looks like a girl to me. So, I mean, that's good enough for me. And she says she's transgender. So, okay, great. You're transgender. So you're on that road to do whatever you got to do for that, and I don't know what that's like because I don't, but it's an expensive and lengthy process. So is the right label trans woman, or are we just supposed to call you woman because that's what we're supposed to do? And I guess where the problem or the potential problem comes in is, don't we have a burden of proof here? And then we run into this problem of, like, the social contract says I should just say whatever because you asked me to, like, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. You want to be called a woman? Fine, you're a woman, whatever. Who cares? Doesn't bother me to do that. So, but at a biological level, like, how am I supposed to properly identify this when, it's like, but that's not the body parts you have. So how do I phrase that? And it doesn't, when I hear somebody say I'm a woman with a penis, which is what the video I was responding to said, it's like, what? Because there's a disconnect there. It's like, no, you're a transgender with a penis. Like, that would make sense to me. So, well, it not making sense to me is irrelevant whether it's true or not or whatever, or how they want me to call them. So there's two different problems, or maybe multiple different problems. Rand says we need a different word to describe someone who wants to live as a man, but is a man with a womb man, or womb man or woman. Same for the other way. By the way, my personal pronoun is God. I insist, and soon as to being reversed by law. The personal pronoun thing, I think, is a whole separate, like, thing in and of itself. Hold on a minute. I'm going to turn off my AC because I'm shivering here. So. So yeah, I think that's a whole separate phenomenon that's apart from the transgender phenomenon. At least that's how I view it. It might not be. By the way, if anyone wants to come in here and talk to me right now, that's about this, that's fine. Apparently, Godless Cranium wants me to talk to Anti-Ordinary on his podcast. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to talk to Anti-Ordinary offline, online, whatever, because to me, it shouldn't even be a thing. Like, okay, so you made an off-the-cuff remark, and it was, badly written or whatever. So usually what happens when I do that, because I do that sometimes, is people say, well, what do you mean by that? Or what's your argument? And then I'll go back and I'll make an argument or retract what I said. And then that's the end of that. That's where, but what happens here is, oh, you offended me. I got to post this on Twitter. Like, okay, well, go ahead. And then, somebody else had said, I'm going to take down your video, or I took down the video that I had where I interviewed you because I don't want to promote you. Like, wow. Okay. So that's that sort of knee-jerk response that I think people get upset about more often than not, is when somebody says something that's incorrect, whether, for whatever reason, and I'm willing to be wrong about what I said, that's fine. But the instant response is just to write that person off and to defriend them, unsub them, call it hate speech or whatever. I'm not going to promote you. I'm not even going to, one of the phrases was, I'm glad that he wasn't ever on my channel or something like that. It's like, what the, look, why? If somebody doesn't know everything there is to know about a given phenomenon, shouldn't we try to educate them? And I think we should. And if they still don't understand after that, then that's a different matter, But I didn't think that this was something that would explode or anything like this, because just saying, look, biologically speaking, I think if you have a penis, you're a guy. And if you have a vagina, you're a woman. Well, it's more complicated than that. Well, yeah, it might be. I don't know. But, I'm just saying, like, what else are we meant to do with this phenomenon? We categorize things scientifically. And so are we asking for a paradigm shift within science itself? Are we, or is this a social matter, or is it both? And I don't know what the level of complexity is on that. But what I do know is I will require the same thing I require for everything else. If you make a claim, you have a burden to prove it. So if you say, I believe I'm a woman, all right, you're a woman, whatever, great, I'll call you a woman. Sure, why not? But if you say you are one, well, then there should be a way to prove that, hypothetically, and there is, apparently. We can, the brain is different, and the hormones might be different. The estrogen or testosterone levels might be different. And so, maybe you want to say, well, it's unfair to ask me to prove that. That might be the case. It might be very unfair. But, if you want to make a good argument, that's my point, is to make the best argument possible, we would want the evidence and say, look, here's the evidence that I am fill in the blank. Now, do you understand how hard it is to go through life in this way? I'd be like, well, yeah, I kind of I mean, not really, but I sympathize with it. That's a much better argument than just, I feel like I fill in the blank. So, let's see. I don't mind using the label they want. Treat me respectfully, but not use the whole them, they, these are nonsense. Unless they really have both genitalia, Gob says. I don't know about them, they, these are, and all that. I think that comes from an ideology rather than an actual thing. We already have a word, hermaphrodite. So if you're a hermaphrodite, I'll call you a hermaphrodite. Lady, it's not like you have one instance where you said something stupid with this issue. Yeah, I've probably said something that somebody would consider stupid about this issue before, And you know what's interesting is nobody has bothered to give me a logically coherent argument or evidence or on this matter. I've asked people directly, when you go to transition from male to female or vice versa, what happens? And I've not gotten a response for that. So I don't know what that process is like. And what I want to know is, do they scan your brain? Do they look at your blood to see if you have more estrogen or testosterone? You know, is there a process that you undergo that proves you are X? Or is it we just believe you and you go on, you fly on through? Because if it's we just believe you, then I'm against that. Period. Because you're doing it based on faith, not on facts. If there's some process that you undergo, then fine, you know, whatever, do whatever you want. All right, there's science there. This is not the gay phenomenon. And see, I think that's maybe where this whole thing got off differently, is the gay phenomenon. I remember we were looking for the gay gene for a long time, and then I guess we gave up on that search, or you know, maybe it was too complicated of a thing. And so it's like, look, if somebody's gay, they're gay, who cares, whatever. And if there's no way to prove it or not prove it, then then what can you do about that? Really nothing, you know. But this is something different, where the brains of at least 3 or 4 people, if I remember right from the article, have been done an autopsy on, and the brain was different. So we might have, obviously you could just do a brain scan and see that somebody's brain was different before they're dead. You don't have to wait until they're dead to see their brain. And then you'd have proof, and then that would make a good argument. Why make a bad argument when you can make a good argument? Gob doesn't buy the non-binary thing that's happening lately. Yeah, again, it's hard to separate the ideology from what facts there are, because there's a group of people with an ideology out there that are using and abusing the transsexual community to gain political power. And I'm against that, because you should gain political power on your own merits, not on the backs of anyone else. And there's people out there that don't like what those people are doing. So I don't know if there is an argument, biologically speaking or scientifically speaking, for non-binary. I don't even know what that would be. It'd probably be a hermaphrodite. That'd be the only thing I could think of. And then there's proof for that, because it's there in the genitalia, and I would imagine it would be there in genetics and the DNA and other things as well. But I don't know the science behind it. The original fight we had about being pronouns, after all, it's way more complicated. It's not just penis equals man, woman equals woman, even just biologically speaking. Well, then, but isn't that how we typically categorize things in biology, is by the genitalia? I mean, if it's more than that, then I'm wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong. Okay, show me I'm wrong then. Don't with evidence, not with feelings. I want to see your womb. Thanks. What? I identify as, yeah, whatever. Yes, you insist on pushing for logic and proof of everything. If someone makes a claim, that doesn't matter. Like, if they're a man or woman, there's no reason they prove it to you. I disagree, lady. Yes, I do demand logic and proof for everything. And if that troubles you, too bad. Oh well, I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep requiring evidence and logic to believe something is true, and not believe it if I don't get those things. And your feelings about it are irrelevant. That's how I am. But is it a benign thing to claim that you are the other gender? I don't know that, because again, it's this if there's evidence for it, and it seems to be that there is evidence for it, then the best argument to make is, here's the evidence. Now you don't have to believe me. You've got the evidence. Now that's not me saying to Heather, hey Heather, prove you're really a transitional woman that was once a man that's now becoming that's now a woman becoming a man again, or whatever the bleep her thing is that she claims. I'm not demanding proof of her because she says I believe this. But if she says it is true, then I would want proof. Now she doesn't have to give me any proof, and then I don't have to believe her, I guess. It's just like with anything else. Why is it different? But maybe on the social level, we're saying, well, it should be different on the social level. And I can say, well, I don't know. It's tough because if there is evidence, I want that. And if they say, well, I don't want to give it to you, and I say, okay, well, then I guess I don't believe you. And that's the end of that. And you don't have to like that that's my stance, but that's my stance. And it's the same thing on everything. And it's like, well, if you say you're gay, okay, you're gay. But there is no way necessarily to prove that per se. So, on that, it would be like, well, okay, fine. But on this, it might be different, and I'm not sure that it is. And I'm trying to work out how to think correctly about this. And the way to do that is to say things out loud. And if that upsets people, then they get to correct me. And not just write me off as an idiot or whatever, but say, look, this is where you got it wrong, so that I understand it. And you can do that best with logic, reason, and evidence. In fact, that's the only way you can do it, because nothing else will work for me. Did I demand proof? Well, again, I'm not saying that if somebody says to me, I'm a girl or an alien or a robot or a toaster, whatever, I don't care. I'll be like, yeah, sure you are. Okay. That's one issue. Okay. That's one layer. That's the social contract. If they say I am X rather than I believe X, then there's a burden of proof being uttered. And within the confines of logic, they would have to prove that. So that's a different level. If the best argument available to be made is evidence, that's always going to be the case. Or if it's not, it should always be the case that the best arguments we can make are supported by evidence, not feelings, but facts, not faith, but facts. So if we have the facts, then present those facts. And if it's about, well, I want to be called this or that, like Steve McRae had this whole thing where he's trying to get people not to call him an atheist. And I guess a couple of different people at least, thought that he was trying to make the word atheist mean something else, which is a whole different argument. The word should be seen as this versus I don't want you to call me this because I view it in this way. Okay, you can view it in whatever way you want, and okay, you're not an atheist. I won't call you that. I'll call you agnostic. That's not even an argument. You're not saying that the word is this, phenomenon, that I want you to look at the word in this way. And so if you say, look, I'm a woman, I'll say, sure, you're a woman. Great. You're a woman all day long. But that's different from making the best possible argument that you could hypothetically make. And so if you are somebody that's trying to gain movement and empathy and things of this nature, make the best argument you can, which is one with evidence, not one just with feelings, although that might work with some people. It won't work with everybody. And there's, Ben Sharpo, who just thinks the whole thing is a mental illness. Now, I think he's wrong, but I need the evidence to back up that idea. Let's see, where then? Okay, so got a lot of chat to catch up with. For adults, it doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want. Yeah, that I agree with. Adults can do whatever they want. From children, there's evaluations. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's been some pushback on the children thing because I've read and heard things about that. So I don't know. You know, it's if there was a way to prove that a child was X, Y, or Z, then it would make sense that we help them to be that. And since it seems like there will be or is proof of that, then all we have to do is do a brain scan or do some blood work or whatever. Shouldn't be that hard to get it, since it appears to be that at least when somebody has already perished, we can see their brain is, that of a male or that of a female. So it would go to, if that remains true, then we should see that with a brain scan. So we don't have to wait till you die to see your brain. Whoa. Let's see. Nobody has to make any argument in the first place. Somebody could do as they want with their body. There's no reason for others to fight with them over simple requests. It depends what it is, lady, though. I think there is a huge difference because there is that guy that's claiming to be a 6-year-old girl, and there's that person claiming to be a cat and whatever out there. But I don't think that to me is not the transgender thing. That is something completely different. The transgender phenomenon is I'm a guy with a girl brain. So I need to have a girl body to go match my girl brain. That's and what do I call that person in the meantime is the question that I'm trying to figure out. Do I call them a trans or a trans woman, or do I just call them a woman even though they have a penis? What do they want me to call them? That's the society thing. That's the social contract. And then what are they technically speaking in biology? What do we do in biology as a classification, as a taxonomy? What do we, and then there's two different questions there. And why don't we just drop the emotions and go with the evidence, whatever that evidence is? And if they don't want to provide that evidence, then they're not going to make a very good argument, which is my whole point, is to make the best argument there is to make, which is not on an individual basis. I'm not saying, look, lady, if you said you're a man, then I'm going to be, prove you're a man. No, I don't care. I'll call you whatever you want. If you want to be a unicorn, fine. But I'm not necessarily going to believe that because I don't have proof for that. And if you want to prove that you are in fact the thing, then you're going to have to provide evidence. And so the point that I'm trying and have been trying to make is when I say a guy has a penis and a woman has a vagina, as far as I can, maybe that's too simplistic and that's the fault of my education on the matter, but that's just how I was taught. And if it's more complex and more nuanced than that, then there's evidence to support the fact that it's more complex and nuanced than that. Present that evidence, not I feel this, I feel that, which is all I've gotten. And not, well, I'm going to throw you off my channel or never welcome you again because I hate you because you said this thing that really offends me. Why do that? Look, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then I learned something. Isn't that good? No, we're just going to shut everything down because of emotions. Oh my goodness, So no, I think that there has to be an argument made. Okay. Simple as that. Okay, you can, yes, good. Show me where I'm being wrong, lady, or stupid, or whatever word you want, but do it with a logically coherent argument and evidence. So, oh my God, this is difficult to catch up with. It's not Asking you to respect someone's pronoun preference is not major. It could be. And this is kind of a different whole level, another level. If it's the law that I must call somebody something and I disagree with that law, I have the right to protest that law in any way, in any peaceful means that I wish, including breaking that law. So it might be, look, I respect you as a human and an individual, but because it's the law and I disagree with it being a law, I'm not going to do that. And just so everyone's clear, if it became a law, I won't say those words, just like Jordan Peterson. I won't say it if it was a law. It's not a law. So I'll call you whatever the hell you want. Unless it becomes a law, then I will stop calling you that. Because you're infringing on my right to say whatever the bleep I want or don't want. And that's not going to happen. I'm going to protest that in peaceful methods, utilizing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s strategy. I'm going to go with his strategy and do that for my protest. And I'll probably wind up in jail. Okay, so be it. Whatever. That's the consequence of that action. But it's not a law yet. Hopefully it won't be one. But on a social level, I have no problem calling people that right now because it's not being forced upon me. Let's see. You know, you can literally look up the biological question. Yeah, okay. So, lady, you know, you can literally look up the biological questions. You could actually see what the criteria are for that. Yeah. I didn't make the claim, though. See, this is the whole, well, Google it. It's not up to us to educate you. It's up to you to educate yourself bullshit. No, you made a claim. You provide the resources. You provide the links that you want me to read because I might see something else and it might say the complete opposite of your point. And then what? Or like there was that guy that was when I said the deplatform thing, he wouldn't provide the link for the dang article. Why not? That's his burden to prove. He said, well, Google it. Well, the problem is, if I Google it, maybe the first result isn't the link that you clicked because the results can change sometimes in Google. So you could then just say straw man. You weren't covering the correct argument. So it's up to whoever makes the claim to provide the proof if they want to make the best argument possible. Now, maybe you don't want to make the best argument possible. Then you don't have to do any of that. You can just say, hey, Google it. Go find out for yourself. And I can be like, well, I'm not going to do that. So, you know, whatever. Because that's not my burden to bear. So you didn't make the best argument possible. I have to be skeptical of your conclusions. That's how the system works. Works the same way. I have been the same on this issue with every other issue, whether it be God or anything else. It's the same criteria. Why is that surprising to people? I don't know. Let's see. If you have the chromosomes, your genitalia will match what you are. I don't know about that. I have no idea. It might be that your chromosomes could be different and your genitalia might not match. I don't know. I think there would be evidence one way or the other. Let's see. Cycle hermaphrodites. Okay. So we're talking about hermaphrodites now. Chromosomes doesn't always match. Asking you is not a law. Also, you don't need to be an asshole. Now we're literally going to fight. How am I being an asshole? Even if I am being, but I could be. And what's your point? Do you have an argument or not? Either you have one or you don't. And see, that's the thing. You've been running around in circles on this because I have yet to hear an actual argument. Give me the argument. Give me the coherent, logical argument for whatever it is you want to argue for. But it might turn out to be, as it has been in the past, lady, that you're just taking what I say and making it mean some other thing that it doesn't mean. So I don't know, but you're free to, if you want to join me on here and talk to me, we can do that. If you're interested, you can look it up. Well, yeah, I could. Or you could provide me whatever the links is you want me to look at. Okay, I actually agreed he should have provided it because why not? But seriously, he provided the article, title, publication, and possibly even author. No, I don't care. He said here's this thing, and I want you to Google it. I'm not going to do that. That's not how the burden of proof works. You make the claim, you provide the evidence or the links to the article, citations, etc. And you do that so that later on you can't accuse your opponent of straw manning you because they found a different thing than the thing that you were thinking of. And it's not this whole, well, it's not my job to educate you. If you're interested in it, go look it up. I'm not that interested. That's the thing. That's why it was an off-the-cuff remark. I'm just like, whatever. You're a guy or you're a girl or you're trans. Okay? Enough. Just pick one. Just pick what you want me to call you and I'll call you that, but stop changing it around. It's confusing. So, but that's not even what the video was about. And then I said, there's a way to prove it. So prove it if there's a way to prove it. But if you don't feel like proving it, then I don't have to believe you. Nobody has to believe you because you didn't offer proof. And there was proof to be shown. And therefore, that's the best argument possible. Why wouldn't you present that? Just like presenting the link. Say, here's the link. Here you go. No problem. It's not that hard to do. It belongs in its evidence. Exceptions prove the rule. Case in point, talk Heather chat because the colored woman, she is half man. Yeah, well, you might get ejected from a talk because you wouldn't call somebody what they wanted you to be called, and I see that as if they don't want to talk to you, then they won't talk to you. Fine, great, whatever. If you've broken the social contract from their point of view, that's their decision. But to just kick you out because you said whatever, that seems silly to me. There's no chance to show you that you're wrong. Why not use logic and reason and evidence to show you that you're wrong? And then if you still think you're right, then kick you out. Oh, yeah, that's right. Your voice is destroyed. Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot about... Sorry about that. Hey, from Moscow, DM. Hey, Skeptic. Trans woman is a woman with both... Okay, wait. Wasn't you... Trans isn't a third. Trans woman is a woman born with male genitalia. Okay. So... the correct label... Because the video I watched, I had assumed it was saying something. The video I watched on Facebook was this gal standing up complaining about, I call myself trans woman or I call myself tranny. And I thought I kind of stopped listening because she was just kind of ranting. And I was like, whatever. I know where this is going. You're going to say, don't call me trans, call me a woman. And I'm like, look, you're supposed to be called trans. That's what you are, right? So whatever, just do that. So that was my initial off the cuff reaction. And I said what I said, if you have a penis, you're a guy. If you have a vagina, you're a woman. And if you have the brain of a man or a woman, then that's a whole different matter. But just say what you are, not, but that wasn't even what the video was about. So I could have been told, hey, you're wrong, Deconverted Man, or Dan Green in this case on Facebook. You're a nitwit. You didn't even listen to the whole video. That's not what she's arguing about. Listen to it again. I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't listen to the whole video. I'm wrong on that level. Okay. Then you could say, oh, and by the way, you're wrong on the correct label. The label is trans woman. Okay, great. That's the label then. But you're not woman until you get the transition, right? Like, or that's the question I'm asking. Do we call you a man or a woman while you're in transition? Or do we call you a trans man, trans woman while you're in transition? And then do we have to ask that question for everybody because it's not a universal given? Or what? And then doesn't that make the social sphere rather complicated when it's already complicated enough? So Gob Barrett saying, I can't call women with big old titties and get a booty. If he was born with male genitalia and technically he's male, right? There's different levels too. That's the problem is, and it's funny because I was called out on not knowing the nuance that you can't just say penis equals man, vagina equals woman, because it's more complicated than that. Okay, it's more complicated than that. So the response is not to write off that person, but to, say, look, here's why it's so complicated. But rather than any sort of just text interaction, which is all it should have been in my view, it's let's put this on Twitter, and then everybody gets to freak out, and everybody did freak out on Twitter. And, I'm being called an idiot, and people are unlisting videos of me and unsupporting me and whatever. And I'm just rolling my eyes going like, whatever, that's really going to help me change my mind. Not at all. It's just going to, if anything, it's just going to make me more emboldened to my original position. It is, you don't have an argument. You only have feelings. You have faith, not facts. How about that? Now what? Now you're more pissed off. Well, good, because your feelings are irrelevant too while I'm at it. The only thing that matters is what the evidence is. And if you want to make a good argument, which I assume you want to, then present the evidence, not feelings. I've had it with the feeling arguments. That's all I see everywhere nowadays is like feelings this, feelings that. It's like, what about the evidence? Well, it's different because people feel this way. No, it's not different. It's the same thing. Make a decent case. And it can be made. So why is nobody making the case then? I don't fathom that. Okay. And what percent of people... The nuances change daily isn't made up. They're literally biological more than genitalities. Okay. So there are more biological classifications than male and female. What are those biological classifications? And what publication talks about that? Because I don't know what, I've never seen that. So there you go. If it's out there and I'm just unaware of it, then provide me the evidence, and then I will know that it's true, and I will have to change my mind. Okay, there are more there are more traits to being male than having a penis. What does that mean? I don't understand. What does that even mean? I don't see. Maybe because there's the look. We are human. We are apes. We are, bimodal, and all these sort of categories that we shove things into in science, right? And we have male and female and hermaphrodite. And that's one thing. And then we have you dress like a sissy sort of insult or whatever. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I don't know. Or you dress, or if you're, it's like, in other words, you're not dressing the way that the majority of guys dress, I guess is what dress like a sissy is supposed to mean. And it's like, yeah, so I don't care. Okay. So what? I got made fun of all the time when I was a kid for wearing clothes that were cheaper than, some people running around in $100 shoes. Oh, you shop at Kmart. Like, actually, no, we shop somewhere cheaper than that, but whatever. Okay. Insult me, whatever. I don't care. So what? But that's the clothing that we could afford. And am I, if you dressed as a girl, well, what does that mean? I don't even know. I don't know anymore because it's changed a lot. It's not just, a skirt. That doesn't, that's not necessarily what it is anymore. But that's a whole different thing than what the classification is, right? Okay. I can't provide you links here. Oh, right. Well, yeah. Well, you can email me the links then, and then I'll look at it, and then I'll understand what it is. And that's the thing that I'm trying to get at is, if I clearly I don't understand this phenomenon. That's clear to me. What isn't clear to me is at what level I'm not understanding the phenomenon at, because I have a very strict way of processing things and looking at things. So if we're going to be talking about respect, well, why does nobody respect that? Respect logic. Forget about people. Respect logic and the rules of logic. That's the system I adhere to. Empirical evidence and logic. That's it. Oh, but it's a social matter. Well, I don't, I'll freely admit I'm not very good on the social matter, because of the logic thing. I don't, you don't have a reason to respect what doesn't care about my feelings. Okay, great. So you don't have an argument then. That's my assertion. How about that? See, I'm waiting for the actual evidence and actual argument, not the feelings. Look, within logic, your feelings don't matter. That's the truth of logic. That's how it functions. Feelings are not relevant in logic. There's fallacies that cover that. Appeal to emotion, and then subset of that, whatever the emotion might be. And that doesn't always have to be fallacious. There can be times that an appeal to emotion is correct, but it depends upon the argument itself, the syllogism and or essay or whatever it is you're presenting. Then it changes. The context matters. And when all is being offered is feeling this and feeling that, then you really don't even have an argument. You have feelings. And that's not good enough. Logic doesn't care about you. What does it matter if logic can't care or not care about you? Why you should respect it? It's a system that works. It's like science. I mean, I'll say this, logic is less than science. I will say that. Logic cannot do what science can do. It can only get us to a point. And then after that point, we have to go with science. And many might even say that science is better than logic because of that. And it might be the case. The scientific method might be the way that we decide everything or maybe should be the way that we decide things. And we just aren't doing that yet for whatever reason. Maybe it's too complicated. Maybe there's many things to hold in our heads or whatever. I don't know. But if I am saying the best argument to make about anything at all, whatever it is, this phenomenon or any other, is with evidence. And we have that. Potentially, we have the evidence. Potentially. So present that. And if you're aware of articles, well, articles are one thing. I'd rather just give me the science if you have it. And make sure it's not behind a paywall or something so I can look at it. Okay? And if you think that's too much effort and too much work, then don't do that. But then your argument's not going to be as good as it could have been. That's not that hard to understand. Let's see. Feelings do matter. They influence people no matter how you think it should be the case. That's the problem with skeptics. What is skeptics in quote? Like, what does that mean? What do you mean by quoting the word skeptic there? Dismissal of feelings entirely, even though they demonstrably play a huge role in many things, including our interactions. Within logic, emotions don't necessarily matter. They're pretty much irrelevant. They like I said, depends on the argument. It's not always the case. It's not a hard and fast rule, but broadly speaking. And if you have a problem with that, well, then I guess you have a problem with logic and how it functions. And, logic doesn't care because it's like, yeah, I still work. Feelings trump facts if you follow the modern philosophy currently in vogue. Yeah, see, I don't, feelings don't trump facts. Facts are what matters, not feelings. The fact is whatever, when you die, you're dead, game over, that's it. You don't exist. You stop being. And, well, that might make somebody feel bad. It doesn't change reality. People want there to be a God. It doesn't change that there's no God. That's just how it is. There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no angels, no demons, no devils, no goblins, ogres, or dragons, no gods. And feeling bad about that, it's not going to change a thing. But then if we shift that and we say, let's talk about phenomenon X, and it's different because it's sexuality. No, it's not. It's not different. We're talking about a phenomenon. We were talking about a phenomenon of God that's not true. There's no God. It's not a thing. Then we're talking about sexuality. That is a thing. So there's a difference. Okay. So we have evidence then. And one side of the conversation says, feelings, feelings, feelings. Believe me, believe me, believe me. And the other side of the conversation says, just give me the facts and I will. Well, I can't believe the one that's saying feelings, feelings, feelings because they're not giving me anything. The guy that's asking for facts, he's not even presenting a case, by the way. He's just asking for facts. And the other side's refusing to give them. So they're not making the best argument they could make, which would be the facts. When I was a Christian, I was told, we have the facts. It's all true. There's archaeology to prove it. We can prove that it's true 100%, but the atheists will not believe us. I said, that's silly. Give them the evidence. And then if they don't believe, that's a different problem. But it's stupid not to give them the evidence. So I went to look for the evidence at that point because it mattered to me. I was going to be the one to prove that there was evidence out there. Well, there wasn't evidence out there, so I deconverted. And I've looked and I've seen that there's some evidence to support the phenomenon of somebody having a different brain than what their body is. So the best argument to make would therefore then be, here is this brain scan. Here is my estrogen or testosterone levels. Here is my chromosomes, Here it is. I'm holding it up for all to see. And yet my body doesn't reflect the facts. And people would go, whoa, what do I do with that? And they're presented with something irrefutable because it's concrete evidence. And then you say, look, now you can make the emotional appeal. What's it like to be me, trapped in the wrong body? I don't know. I can only pretend to know. I can only pretend to be in that situation. We all, I've had fantasies, where you wake up as a girl or whatever, and, you want to be a girl for a day or whatever, because, guys want to do that sometimes, and vice versa, because we'd like to know what it would be like to be the other thing, but only temporarily and only if it was instantaneous. Wouldn't want to go to the time and trouble that it takes to get an operation and then be like, well, I was a woman. Now I know what that's like, and then go back, which I don't think we can go back. I don't think we have that technology. So I think you're stuck once you go one way or the other. I don't know. Maybe we do. I don't know. But if we had a genie and we could just poof somebody into whatever gender that they wanted, people would probably play with that for a while because they're curious. But there would be some people like, I like it better as this. But that's a whole different phenomenon than that they actually have real evidence that says I am this thing. And so all I'm saying is I suspect they have it. It appears that they have it. Then the best argument that they could make is to give that evidence, the best evidence they have, and then do the whole feelings thing. But I'm not seeing people keep arguing that, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cross my arm. No, I'm not going to do it. Well, no, then you're not going to convince me. And you're not going to convince a lot of people. And that's the consequence of doing it that way. And you're just digging in your heels, but you have to accept us. Nobody has to accept anyone, and so that's not a good argument either. But if you want to make the best argument, then make the best argument. Why would you not make the best argument? It's inconceivable. Okay. Let's see. Part of the human experience. It is. It's all of this confusion for me is part of my human experience, right? And so people can take down videos of me or unfriend me, unfollow me, whatever the hell they want to do. That's all based on emotion. How about the argument? Make an argument, make it logical, make it scientific. And then I change my mind. I have no choice. And I go, okay, you're right. And then that enables me to make that fight on your behalf in the future. And so when I see a video on Facebook, and I don't even bother watching the whole thing, and I say an off-the-cuff remark, don't blow up at me. Instead, go, hey, what did you mean by that? Let's talk about that. Okay, great. Let's leave it where it was, not exploded into the next level. But, we can't do that, I guess. So here we are. Okay, the best argument is fine. But the problem is people start demanding that they do something as simple as use the name. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think I get what Lady Unicorn is trying to say to me now. Is I'm asking people to make the best argument they can make. I'm not demanding that they do. Nor am I demanding that they prove that they are anything. I'll call them whatever the bleep they want. It doesn't bother. I'll call them God because that name has no significance to me. But I might not believe that they're that. So that's if they want me to think that they are whatever they say, they're going to have to provide the proof. If they're fine with just me calling them that and they don't care what my private beliefs are, then I guess that's where the level is, So I'm trying to, for me, and for I would suspect some other people, I need proof of a thing before I think it's true. I can't just believe something. And even in that, well, yes, that hits against the social contract. It's like, well, I ate dinner last night. Yeah, okay, you did, whatever. I don't care. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I guess I believe it at some level, or maybe I don't believe it. I don't know. It's something I'm still working on that in my own head as far as how do I make sense of this? Because can I make it so that what is the line to draw, and where do I draw that line of the burden of proof, and why? What claim is something that I would require proof for, and why? And I don't know. And that's what I'm struggling with. First world problems. Yeah, I guess. What did later somebody's leaving. Language isn't an objective thing. That's true. Natural language. That's what I'm saying. This is a problem of natural language. World genders. Cultures recognize more genders too. Yeah. Now, see, gender is different than sex or genitalia. So, see, that's another difficult thing. Like, technically, biologically, if you have the following things, then you're a male. Like, if you have a penis, but on top of that, because you can't leave it at that, also you have the chromosomes of whatever the bleep, then you're a male, right? But then then the gender thing, that might be a whole different story completely, I guess. And the two are separate. and they would have to be separate so that we can categorize them properly. Unless I'm getting that wrong on top of everything else, I don't know. But then the question I still in the back of my head here is, why is this so upsetting to people? Like, can't somebody be questioning and trying to figure it out and trying to understand it and not quite getting it without offending everybody all the time? I mean, if somebody comes along and says, hey, the world is flat, it's like, oh my God, unfriend him. No, let's explain to him why he's wrong. And if they actually want to learn, they will learn. I do want to learn. I doubt people in a poverty-stricken nation are worried much about sexual identity. Probably, I mean, you have to deal with the most pressing issue that you're dealing with, psychologically speaking. And then once you've got your basic needs taken care of, then we start asking philosophical questions. So once we have food, shelter, and safety, then we're free to ask the philosophical questions. But until we have those things, usually we put those philosophical questions to the side. But it might be that you're pondering the meaning of existence while you're running away from the tiger in the Amazon. I don't know. Well, okay, said the person, yeah. If the law insists that I say this thing, I'm not going to do that. That's a very different thing. It's called protest. Protesting a law that you view as wrong. That's different than I require you to give me empirical evidence or a logically coherent argument, which is the same thing on this topic as it is for any other topic that I've ever talked about on my channel. Usually I cover religion. It's been changing as late because I'm being dragged into this conversation, even though I don't really want to be in this, but I'm in it. I've always asked for empirical evidence, repeatable test, or a logically coherent argument. That's what I want. It's what I want for God. It's what I want for soul, spirit, devil, angels, or any other phenomenon. Whatever it is, whatever the claim is, I want the same thing. It doesn't change. But that is separate from, let's say there was a law that said you have to say that creationism is real. Would you say that? Or would you fight that law? I would hope you would fight that law. And you can do that in different ways. You don't have, maybe you'll say creationism is real, but fight it on a legal stance. Or maybe you would protest it by not saying the words that you don't want to say. Or maybe a combination thereof. And that's your right to fight that law in any way you want. And people have done that in the past and will do it in the future. Heather would have convinced me. Yeah, I should have had this debate with Heather. Let's see. Or maybe you can quit acting like an idiot, actually finishing watching things, try making a decent case in the first place. Yeah, well, I watched part of this video on Facebook, and I stopped watching it, and I thought, I know where this person's going, because they were really, and I'm like, whatever. And I said the off-the-cuff thing. So I failed at that level. Great. I'm admitting to failing at that level. And all the person had to do in response to say, where's your argument? What's your argument? Because I would have been like, well, my argument is, oh, crap, I don't have an argument. That's it. I'm done. I retract what I said, formally speaking. That's the end of the conversation. That's not what happened. What happened is, I'm going to post that you put this on Twitter, and all these people are going to hate you now. Okay, great. Bring it on. Bring on the unsubscribing again. Whatever. I'm going to stick with my stance of requiring evidence and logic. And if they want to give me that, then great. If they don't want to give me that, then I'm not going to believe them. And then they're not making the best argument. And that's a problem for them. And how are we supposed to convince the Ben Sharpos of the world when we're not giving them what they're requiring. If we shoved in Ben Sharpo's face evidence of somebody's brain being a woman and they're the body of a man, that's going to shut him down. What can he say? He can't. If he decides to double down and say, I don't believe that, then we've exposed that he has a belief. We've exposed that he's not being intellectually honest. And we've ruined it for him. But instead, I'm seeing emotional appeal after emotional appeal. And then you're saying, well, there's evidence out there. Go look for it. No. Then you're failed the burden of proof, and you're failing the system of logic. And if you're saying, well, you haven't watched, if you're that interested, I'm not that interested. That's why it was an off the cuff remark. It's like, whatever. And sometimes you just get tired of seeing stuff, and you say things and you don't think about it. But but everybody gets upset when you say anything. And so now you have to be careful of what you say. I'm not going to be, look, I'll make mistakes because that's how I learn. And it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to say things, and it's okay that you or anyone else gets upset at what I say. Just correct me with logic and reason. And I'll from that point on, I'll have learned that, and I will argue for your position as well. It's not that hard. Why is it held for review? Dang it. It's okay. Let's see. Where are we? Yeah, Tethered Atheist wanted to have a chat with me at some point. I don't know if it's about this or some of theirs. Just call people what they want. I will. I'll call you whatever you want. That's not the case that I'm making. How do you have 2K subs and like 110 views on most of your videos? I don't know. It's YouTube. I don't understand how it works. I don't know. And it's not really something that I'm too worried about, because I do my channel my way, and I'm not going to become big. I'm not going to become famous, and that's that. So be it. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fumble. And when I'm corrected with logic and evidence, then I'll stand corrected. And I'll say, hey, I was wrong about this. And I've done that in the past, and I'll do it again in the future. And if you like somebody that's honest, and you like someone that does logical analysis, then and sometimes talks about other things as well, then you'll watch what I do. And if you don't, then you won't. Okay. Yeah. Comment as red hand. No one's asking for a law, Jordan. Bill C-16 is a law. Sorry. I mean, he's talked about laws, how we not identify people. Let's see, first you write that down. Comment. What? Until disabled people exist in great numbers. Who is stigmatizing people with mental illness? If you have a mental illness, you have a mental illness. What's so wrong about that? But I don't know if people have a mental illness or not. That's not up for me to decide. That's up for the professional community to decide, broadly speaking. But here's the question. Let's say somebody goes in and says, I'm George Washington. Do we help them become George Washington, or do we think that that's a mental condition? I think we think that's a mental condition. But what if we found a thing that proved that they had George Washington's brain in their head? Then all we have to do is say, look, we scanned their brain and it's freaking George Washington's brain. We have the proof. Let's make them look like George Washington now. End of story. You have proof. That's all you need to do is give the proof. And we potentially have the proof. Therefore, the best argument to make is, I'm repeating myself. I've said it. I don't know. See, skeptic we should, as we discriminate against literally what trans people want to be. Let's see. We should not discriminate. Hey, I'm online right now. I don't hate you any more than I previously did. It's fine. You can hate me, like me, love me, whatever you want towards me. It's fine. She went into it with her response, your subs don't even watch your shit. Okay. That's fine, atheist. I don't care. Acting as if disabled people can't be normalized kind of discrimination. What I don't know what that talks about. It seems like a tangent. Tattered atheist. Can you even speak Sharpo, not Sharpo? Well, atheist, do you have an argument to offer me, or just comments on how I'm speaking? So I'll wait for you to present your evidence and logical argument. And if you want to, you can join in. I'll give you the link. But if you're going to insult me, I'm going to ignore that because it's not relevant to the argument at hand. And it's also somewhat a well-established thing that I can't say words right sometimes. You can't claim that being disabled is a positive thing. It's a tragedy. I don't know what that conversation is about. So whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up to the thing. You don't know how mental illness is stigmatized. I had a doctor try to reassure me by saying I didn't seem dangerous because of a mental diagnosis. Right. How is that stigmatization? Like, maybe you mean something that I don't mean by that word, but I mean, I would think like it might be the case that society still looks down upon mental illness, but I think I get the feeling, believe that society is pretty accepting of mental illness this day and age. But I think that's a different topic. I don't know. Not everything is an argument. But I love debating and I love argumentation. And I don't see the problem with that. Because the diagnosis was so associated with violence in individuals, maybe the doctor was surprised a not danger. Well, maybe they meant something else. Maybe they were trying to reassure you and it came off as wrong. How do you know what they mean when they say what they said? So, does that require mind reading, or how should they have said, what did you want them to say? There's a patient advocate. You could have gone to them and said, look, the doctor said this and I don't like that. And the patient advocate could do whatever they can do for you. And the patient is perfectly safe. So you get a second opinion and you could potentially sue the doctor for malpractice. It happens. Doctors are wrong. I don't know if that's a stigma. I think that would be multiple cases of multiple instances of something like that happening across the board, not just to you, but to a lot of people. And then there would be some data that you could show on that. And then there would be an argument you could make and Okay. Well, I was disconnected from the internet, and so I'm back. Here's the link to the Hangout, by the way. So I don't know if you're still here or not, and if you are, thanks for being here. And if you're not, well, then never mind. I don't know. I think I'm just repeating myself at this point, and I don't know that I'm explaining the the thing as well as I could explain it. Or maybe this is something that people just, I don't know. I'm not sure where the disconnect here is. And you know, I guess I'm going to probably have that talk with you know, on Godless Cranium or whatever. I don't know if that who was that person now, Tattered Atheist, wanted to talk or not. I don't know what the deal was there. You know, I'm glad to have a civil discussion about things, but you know, that's what it's going to have to be. So, not sure what if I've got anybody or not. Let's reload chat, see what's going on. No? Okay. Well. All right. I mean, you know, in the text that I laid out, I think I pretty much said what I've said here. If that's still not clear enough, or if I'm not understanding something that I'm supposed to understand, then let me know what that is, because you know I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to understand. And if that's not good enough for somebody, then I don't know what to do with that. So, you know, it is what it is at this point. I mean, okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and put those. I'm not sure. I guess I'll leave this up. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't. If I'm going to wind up talking about this whole thing again, I wonder if this is beneficial or not for people. But I guess it's a thing I did, so I might as well leave it up. For a while, or no, I should just leave it up. I mean, I don't. If you know, if I'm wrong, then I want to be able to go back and be like, oh, look, I was wrong about this and that and whatever, and you know, correct that. So I'll just try to recap my thing here. So you want to be called X, I'll call you that. I don't. It does. You know, it doesn't bother me to call you whatever the bleep it is. That's one. That's the social contract. If you want me to believe that you are X, then I require evidence, just like I would for anything else. If you want to make the best argument that you can make, then provide evidence while making that argument. And that will be a far better argument than one that just appeals to emotion, because you'll have the evidence to back it up. If you want, and so yeah, I think that those are my points. I don't know if I can make those any clearer or whatever. And you know, this upset somebody, or you want to unfriend, or whatever you want to do, okay. I don't see how that helps me to learn to anything new. But you know, I guess that's just how we handle things, or some people handle things. I don't know. Skeptic says, I think most people made up their minds on this issue. There's little wiggle room, unfortunately. I don't know. It's natural language, and it's logic, and it's, you know, burden of proof, and it's all of these things that I think about a lot, and I try to work out. And so me making an off the cuff remark on Facebook shouldn't be that big of a thing. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then you just say, hey, you're wrong. Okay. but it's posted on Twitter, and then, people doing the whole reaction thing. I'm an idiot on this, on that. Okay. And do you have an argument? I didn't have an argument. I was arguing against a video that wasn't even there. Wasn't even arguing against the correct video, for crying out loud. So what more do you want? That's the best I can do with that. So I don't know. It's weird. So let's see if, let's see all the hate come at me from Twitter or whatever now. Let's see. So frustrated might, let's see. Yeah, so here's Godless Iowan. You have a discussion with something with giving their appearance. So the video on that I did, I guess he's talking about me, I'm assuming here, was a promotional video. Since I can't agree with promoting him anymore, I pulled the video. Okay. All right. I don't know. So anytime I disagree with Godless Iowan, I guess just don't promote anybody if they ever disagree with anything, ever. If they're slightly wrong, don't you dare talk to them even. We should just, I mean, come on. It's the level of ridiculousness that I see with that is beyond my comprehension. This is there's a 1 minute skeptic with Christy Winters in it. I'm leaving that up. I don't support her or endorse her, but she's there. I'm happy to talk to her. She can come on my channel anytime she wants. Godless Iowan can come on here anytime they want with whatever they want to talk about. You're welcome to come to my channel. The whole purpose of 1 Minute Skeptic is to have other people have a voice on my humble channel. And yeah, it might be that I don't get that many views, or you don't get that many views, or whatever. Hey, it is what it is. At least I'm trying, That's what I'd like to see other people do, something like that on their channel, And people do. They have people on and talk about stuff. But when we say one thing that happens to be slightly wrong, we're not allowed to be wrong? Or what? What's the deal? I don't know. You tell me. Anyways, whatever. It triggers some imagined emotions because they have faith in their opinions. Arguments versus faith. You know the routine. Love your channel, man. Well, thank you for your kind words. I mean, people are not going to... you don't have to like me. I don't care, in fact. The argument's what matters. That's what matters. That's all that matters, is the argument. And my stance is, you want to make a good argument for your case. I would assume that about whatever the case might be. I would assume that that's the case. I wouldn't know why somebody would not want to make the best argument they could. And I'm saying to them, great, present evidence along with your argument. And they come back and their rebuttal to that is, I don't need to do that because of social reasons. And I'm saying this is at a different level than that. This is at I'm not talking about that. I'll call you whatever. That's not the thing that, and so all these things get intertwined, and it's like, you can't separate it because of your emotions, I guess. Like when I did the video on Steve Shives and Bionic Dance, it's complicated. We have emotions involved here between these two people that I have emotions about. And so I can't analyze the argument properly because I have emotions. And then I finally got Steve, he laid out his argument, and then I started analyzing it, and then I asked him questions, and he told me the answer. And it's like, oh, you're not saying that the word atheist should be this thing. You're saying that it doesn't apply to you because that's not how you view the word, which is different. That's a whole different argument. The argument Steve is making is, I don't want to be called an atheist. I want to be called agnostic. Okay, we'll call you agnostic. Whatever. That's what you want to be called. That is a different argument than saying atheist means fill in the blank. And so this is a similar phenomenon to that, where people don't want to be called whatever it is, or they do want to be called whatever. And you're saying, fine, I'll do that. But that's one category. And then the other is, I want this to be proven. Then that requires evidence. And all we have to do is separate those two. It shouldn't be that hard, but I guess it is hard. So I and if I make an off the cuff remark like I did, and this is the backlash that I get for it, so be it. I'll be the one to be wrong. I'll be the martyr. Unsub. Oh no, I lost 40 subs before. I gained them back. So I'm doing okay, I guess. I don't know what that means, or if it means anything at all. And I'll get a message, I'm sure, oh, you hate LGBT, or, whatever. And it's like, and the thing that, I guess the only thing that bothers me that I could say on a social level directly at Anti-Ordinary would be, I did not call you a man directly. If you feel that I did, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I did not say that. Nor did I intend to imply it, because I've always seen them as a girl. They look like a girl. They talk like a girl. They're a girl. They say they're a girl, so that's what they are. Now, that's a belief that I have. Hypothetically, they could get a brain scan and whatever and prove it scientifically, then it wouldn't be a belief. Then I would know it. And so would everyone. And nobody could ever say anything else but that it's a fact. That's a different thing, isn't it? So it depends, I guess, what people want. I guess. So thanks for listening. I guess I'll be talking about this again. Maybe. I don't know if I will be. I've been invited to talk about it. So if I am, I'll give links and all that, and I'll tell you about it, and hopefully it can be cleared up. I'm going to send this to Godless Cranium because he wanted me, to talk about this. So he might hear this video and be like, never mind. You're beyond hope. We can't deal with you. You're too stupid or whatever. I don't think he would, but so we'll see. I guess that's where we'll leave it. And, I want to just say, look, if I'm to go to the emotional side of myself, what could I say here? My best to you and yours, always. And until we have a logically coherent argument, we must be skeptical of the conclusions. Good night.